was really no playbook to come down here and do this at all. And I'm still learning every day. I just felt like if I just went for it, I knew regardless of whatever it was, whether it was finance or medical device, I figured I'd probably find a way to do it. I felt like I was just climbing this never-ending mountain out of all these injuries that I had. If you're not growing in spine, you're dying.
What's up, guys? Welcome back to another episode of The Device Girls. Today we have on Ty Hensley. He is a device rep as well, and he's the owner of First Round Medical, and he's based out of Dallas. So I'm going to go ahead and open the floor to Ty and let him introduce himself, and we'll get started.
Yeah, thanks, Haley. Happy to be on the show. Thanks for having me. So my name's Ty, like you already said. I run a medical device distributorship here, specializing primarily in spine. We do some other stuff, podiatry, stuff like that. But originally from Oklahoma. I played professional baseball for 10 years, 5 with the New York Yankees, 2 with the Tampa Bay Rays, and then 3 with a bunch of different teams towards the end of my career. Was in the OR a bunch myself, having a bunch of surgeries, 3 on my elbow, 4 on my hips, and then 1 on for a sports hernia. So had a lot of experience in the OR for the wrong reasons. So I think it's kind of natural that I gravitated towards that. I latched on with the distributorship when I got done playing up in Oklahoma City to kind of cut my teeth and get some experience. And then about a year and a half ago, moved down here to Dallas, cold turkey, didn't know anybody, and just kind of started it all from scratch.
Wow.
That's awesome.
That's awesome. Okay. Walk me through, where did you get the wild hair to let's start a distributorship? What did that process look like for you?
You bet. When you say wild hair, well, I have no hair. So that's even better. I probably from just being a pitcher, I think in baseball, obviously the game doesn't start and stop, until you do. You kind of have control over everything. And I think part of me, I'm kind of a control freak a little bit too. So, I felt like, with the doctors that had done surgery on me, I felt like I probably had enough, knowledge of what was going on and knowledge of, how to make it work somehow. There was really no playbook to come down here and do this at all.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm still learning every day. But I don't know. I just felt like if I just went for it, I knew regardless of whatever it was, whether it was, finance or, medical device, I figured I'd probably find a way to do it. So
Mm-hmm.
that's really it.
That's awesome. I was going to ask, because you brought up being a pitcher and everything. Was that always the goal for you, was to be a professional baseball player? And then how did you kind of transition out of that? What made you make the switch into I don't want to say an actual career, because that is a career, but a regular person, normal career?
Because we're not all professional athletes.
Ever since I was, maybe 3 or 4. So my dad played professional baseball as well. He played at St. Louis.
Awesome.
So I think it's kind of natural. I was going to grow up around the game.
Yeah.
And then he coached, he was a pitching coach at Kansas State for 10 years
Okay.
after that. So I kind of grew up in a locker room from the time I was, 2 to 12,
Wow.
so I just grew up around a bunch of baseball players all the time. I loved it. And I had a knack for it for sure. I kind of knew pretty early on that if this was something that I wanted to pursue, it was probably going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
So, I'll tell you what, that transition out of baseball into real life, like you were saying, it's hard. And in fact, it took me probably, 2 years after I got done playing. So I retired in 2021 at the age of 27 or 28. I think it was 28. It's kind of weird because you're 18, and you're kind of thrown into locker rooms with guys that are, 30, 40, people that have been doing it for a long time. That's kind of all you ever know. And that becomes your identity. Mm-hmm. Same thing with what we do now. We love what we do. It becomes your identity. It's part of who you are. And that's kind of what baseball was for me. But yeah, when it was done, I kind of knew, like, that last year, I felt like I was just climbing this never-ending mountain out of all these injuries that I had. And regardless of how well everything would have gone, it's like every day was just this crazy fight. And I like my chances, but just I felt kind of exhausted from it, and I felt like it was time to do something else, and I didn't know what that was. So I retired, and we moved back. At this time, my wife was pregnant with our first, and we moved back to Oklahoma City, where we're from. And I had no clue what I wanted to do. Nothing really interested me, like, to a point of like, oh, I can put the same energy that I had in baseball into something else. No. So it took a while. So I spent probably, I don't know, 6 months just like pretty much being on the couch and doing nothing and, being a piece of garbage pretty much. And I got tired of that. And so did my wife, because, whether or not we, I was ready, this baby was coming. So it was time to figure something else out, because I'm not going to let my children see me be lazy. Yeah, that's how I kind of latched on with that distributorship there in Oklahoma City. I had a friend tell me that med device would probably be something that I like. And I'm like, well, okay, I've been the OR, but I've been the one on the table, not the one behind the table, So, yeah, I don't know. Even today, I watch games. I watch my friends play, on TV and stuff. And yeah, it's definitely hard sometimes, but I think I've kind of removed myself emotionally enough from that to kind of pass that on to my boys. And, I'm coaching my son's T-ball team. And so that's kind of been fun for me. And I'm just kind of, taking, all the people that I met and all the knowledge that I have and just kind of passing on to my boy now. So,
yeah, I'm curious. Did you know anything about this industry before you got into it? Because Sarah and I talk about this all the time, and I think it's true. Like, we didn't know what this was until we got into it. Like, it's not something that people talk about in school or anything. It's either like doctor or nurse. So did you know what you were getting yourself into?
No, I had no idea, especially spine. Like, I knew zero about the spine. I knew plenty about the elbow, plenty about the hips, but nothing about spine. The first thing that I'm sure, like, we all learn, right, is like how involved we actually are with each and every case, and how much of a impact that we get to make. So no, I had no clue.
Yeah. Because did you have any level of medical background at all? Like, in education?
Like, outside of being a patient?
Yeah.
No.
Okay.
No.
Yeah.
Not at all.
Yeah. What was that like for you, transitioning and kind of drinking through a fire hose and like learning all that?
You know what? It was hard at first, because I kind of, come from a world where everyone kind of kisses your ass all the time, right?
Right.
Really, for the time I was like a little kid all the way up through professional baseball, and not in like a weird way, but just like, you're the athlete, you're the doctor that we're servicing now, right? So it's kind of been, that was the interesting transition to go to, from being like the center of attention, right, to I'm serving now, So that was interesting and interesting to learn. When you don't know what you're talking about, it's not like you're really a resource in there either.
It takes a high level of skill and professionalism and dedication to be a phenomenal athlete. How do you feel like those skills kind of translated for you, though, into the OR?
That's a great question. I think if baseball teaches you anything, it teaches you how to be okay with failing, because baseball is a game of failure. You're going to fail a lot more times than you succeed. So I think it just kind of taught me, and especially with all the things that happened to me over my career, I just think it kind of taught me how to, not take everything so seriously, move on to the next thing. When that thing's done, you get a second to think about it, you learn from it, you move on, you get better. So I think, I don't know, it taught me a bunch of different things, I'm sure. But I just say really taught me how to analyze something, move on, get better, and not let that same mistake happen again. If that makes sense.
Yeah. Love that.
What did you find, like, when you transitioned from going for working for somebody else and then starting your own distributorship, what were the biggest challenges you had, and how have you overcome them, or what have been some of the lessons through that too?
Boy. Well, if you would have asked me this question the first 6 months I was here, I would just say, I don't know what the heck I'm doing here. This is hard. All sorts of things. But I don't know, like the first little bit of me being here when I was a one-man shop, just me, definitely teaches you how to hustle and, constantly going to make sales calls and introducing yourself to people and just being as social as you can. Yeah, I don't know. Like I said earlier, there was really like no playbook to come down here and do this. I just knew that, given enough of a runway, I'd kind of figure it out and put the pieces together. And so we've been able to do that pretty good so far.
Yeah.
That's awesome. What was it like because I know you have a couple people that now work under you. So what was that kind of like, transitioning into the space of like hiring people and having people work under you?
Yeah. Probably strange at first. But I mean, I kind of go back to baseball, right? Like I feel like as a pitcher, you're kind of like managing your team, so to speak, a little bit, right? And then, as you get a little bit older in your baseball career, like towards the end, I was kind of helping the younger guys and everything too. So I don't think anything was too strange there. I think it was just finding the middle ground of like, okay, I need to be a teacher to some people. I need to probably stoke a fire in some other people. I need to pull the reins on some people, so just kind of like figuring out your people in kind of the best way that they need help. But I kind of look at myself as that way. Like I'm just here to help everybody. We all work together. We're all, working for a common goal, and that's to service our surgeons the best.
That's awesome.
Yeah. What made you kind of not want to go the corporate? Because I just feel like, first of all, congratulations for starting distributorship, because that is just so cool. But what made you maybe not want to go the corporate route and kind of learn the ropes that way?
Yeah, you know what, the thing that I love the most about distribution is just the freedom to kind of go make a big impact on your community specifically. I think every day, with baseball, you're on the road. I'm not sleeping in the same bed every night, right? Like I'm not seeing my family all the time. Well, basically every day now, unless we're out for like a lab or, we're traveling around for some sort of education. I get to sleep in that same bed every night. I get to come home to my family every night. So I think like part of that was really important to me. But just the impact that you can make on a local and then like a community level, I think that was probably why I gravitated towards distribution. And on top of that, it's like all I've ever known. I've only been distribution since being in. I've obviously met all the corporate guys through all the companies we distribute for. But I don't know. I just love distribution. I'm not a corporate guy by any means at all.
I think it's a little hard once you go like the distributor route to want to jump into corporate, because even like, because I started out distributor model too. And like when I was leaving my first role, it was really hard for me. Like I'm doing these interviews for corporate and I'm like, you guys are so, just
structured.
It's different. Like not that a distributorship is not that way, but you just have more flexibility and like, I don't know. I just like it better, but
and more freedom to speak your mind, right? Like I feel like there's two different speeds in what we do. It's, you have the corporate side, right, wrong, and different. There's a chain of command there, right? There's a lot of outlets for communication, and then this guy's going to communicate to this guy, and this guy's going to communicate to this girl, and it's just like a big chain of command. Whereas distribution, hey, Doc said he needs this. I'm calling my person here, and like we need it like now.
Yeah.
And then like things tend to get done a little bit quicker that way. So I don't know. I love all my corporate guys. I'm just not one.
Right. Yeah.
Were you prepared, or did you expect to be in the kind of the same position of coaching to some of your surgeons that you did, on the field? And has that been equally or more rewarding being in the surgical space than on the field, or?
Yeah, I think laying down at night, I can, like with baseball, I go out and, throw really well and, have a great game. And like all of that gratification is just for me. You know what I mean? And with what we do, you go make a big impact on a case, doc really appreciates it. I mean, how much further does that text go for you, knowing that you made an impact in that patient's life and you helped the doc? Everyone in the room was just glad that you were there, So I would say not even close, this dwarfs baseball in that regard.
Yeah.
So walk us through kind of like a day in the life for you. Obviously, we kind of know the life, but like you own a distributorship and things like that. So what does that look like?
Yeah. Probably not much different than what you're doing on a daily basis, honestly. Like I typically have a schedule that I try and follow, but I think in the last year, I've never had one day go exactly how I planned it, right? We're just always prepared for chaos. And chaos happens every day. So, I don't know. I think I've tried to, as we've kind of grown and added more people, I just tried to be as helpful as I can to everybody. But at the same time, I'm managing a lot right now as we just kind of expanded across state lines, with DePuy Synthes Spine. We're up in Tulsa, Oklahoma now. So it's like I was saying earlier, there was no playbook. I'm just kind of learning as I go and kind of doing the best that I can. But yeah, like really, I'm still in the OR all the time. I'm still covering cases. I'm not just some guy sitting behind a desk. I'm out hustling. I'm making cold calls. I'm there at like every meeting. I'm meeting with a lot of people. I'm supporting cases, and then I'm, managing all of the back end stuff with, corporate. So yeah, it's a lot.
What has been a case for you or an experience in the OR that has changed your perspective on your career and what you do in patient care?
Man, a specific case, huh?
Or patient or even surgeon and relationship.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, I think a better way to answer it is like when, you guys can go back to like when you first started, right? And kind of how intimidating, regardless of what you did before, like how intimidating that process. Everybody in that room knows more than you do. And like, oh, you're expected to know everything about everything, distribution. It's like we have 4 different companies on the table. You got to know everything about everything. But as you keep doing it, you get more and more confident. But I think like when it really clicks, and you're just, you're offering suggestions before they happen, I think that's kind of like where you kind of turn and get really confident as a rep, and, you get kind of dangerous that way. So yeah, I can't really think of any like specific time, like kind of where that happened, but just over time, it's like you realize it in hindsight, like, oh, that was like, now I'm kind of confident and I understand what I'm doing. I understand what we're trying to do with every procedure. I think when you get to that point, it's like, oh, this is fun. Like, I really love what I do.
Yeah.
Because I know exactly what you're talking about. And when you're not confident in the beginning, it can be very difficult and intimidating. So what's your biggest piece of advice for anybody like getting into this industry and how to gain that confidence quicker and really feel like you're on your A game in there?
Sure. Yeah. I think constantly studying and when you have lab opportunities, like stay later and go put the stuff in yourself, take it out, like understand it, not even so much about what you're selling, but just the procedure in general. If you really understand the procedure, what you're trying to do, it doesn't matter what company you're using. Like they're all relatively the same with a few different nuances, right? So I think like really understanding the procedure, what you're trying to do, is how you become a resource in there.
Yeah,
that's awesome.
Yeah, we talk about that all the time. It just to me, like having a desire and a passion to be an expert on your technology, but also like down to procedure, down to also your relationships that you've built in the room. All of it. It's just so important. Yeah.
Well, I like what
it's a relational game, right? There's no more I mean, not like I know everything about everything, but as far as sales are concerned, I don't think there's any more relational business than med device, let alone spine.
Oh, absolutely. But I was going to say, like, I love what he's saying is like, get your hands on it. Cause you go to training sometimes for these things. And it's like, when you're sitting in the classroom part of it, it's like, okay, yeah, you're spitting a bunch of words at me, but like, not until they bring the sets out and like show you, or you're in a lab, do you really understand it? I mean, because textbook to actual procedure is just, it's completely different.
Yeah.
And
I can give you a great example of like, just being a little bit older and understanding what's going on. But like yesterday, we had a C1 to C4, and we're using smooth shank screws for C1, and we had 3 5s and 4 O's, and we wanted to put 4 O's in, but before we go to put our first one, we weren't quite sure how long we wanted that C1 screw, just to see like where we'd be at with the C2 pedicle screw. So instead of putting 4-0 in first, I was like, hey doc, I think we should probably put a 3-5 in first, just so we have a little wiggle room. If we need it, we want to go something a little shorter. So but anyway, just kind of like little things that you get from like understanding what they're trying to do, and making that suggestion, and that saves you a lot of time, right? So like just kind of proofing your point there.
Yeah.
Well, and on the back end too, if you put the 4-0 in, you got to change it, then it's like, what do we do? So, but
that's right. What are we doing?
We talk about that a lot.
Yeah.
We talk about that a lot too, of like, some of this stuff you got to just learn it on the job too, like with experience.
You could not have said that any better. There is no classroom, there's no lab, there's nothing that's going to prepare you for it other than just doing
100%.
And sometimes it might be scary.
Yes.
But you learn it one time and you'll never forget it.
Yes. The hardest moments, like the ones that you're like, oh my gosh, like those are the ones like you'll never forget. You know what I mean? Like you will take that and that will be a lesson that will stick with you forever. And so like I'm in the robotic space, and like that just, I mean, so many specialties. And that's probably like one of my favorite things too, is being able to translate, well, hey doc, I've seen this, and they kind of do it this way, or, and just providing value from different perspectives of experience and things that you've seen in the OR. So yeah. When it comes 100%. To the relationships and you building the relationships the way that you have, what did that look like for you, kind of gaining access and entry into the OR, moving in, and then just saying, here I am?
Yeah. Well, kind of back to that first 6 months, right? That's really all that I was trying to do when I got here. I was like, I can make like $0 for a year. I'm going to be okay. But if it doesn't start looking a little better towards the end of that first year, I'm like, all right, I might just go get a job with somebody. But thankfully, like it all worked out. But like that was my whole goal when I first got here. I just want access to everybody. Like I'm going to go out there, I'm going to go hustle, I'm going to earn that access to everybody. Like whoever I want to meet with, I'll find a way to meet with them.
Yep.
Even if they say no, like I'm gonna find a way. Because we get a lot of no's in our world, don't we? And you just got to find a way to make it happen. So, I don't know. I felt like if I could go earn that and find my way in there, just kick that door open a little bit, like I'm going to pull it open and it's going to stay open. You know what I mean? Like I felt really confident once I got in somewhere, like I'm going to get everybody to love me, just because that's what people do. That's what we do. We're trying to win everybody, from the guy who's out there parking cars, to the janitor up there, right? So it's like it's just people, very relational, kind of like we were saying.
Yes,
that's so true.
Can I ask you guys a question?
Yeah.
How did you guys get into it?
That's funny.
Well, let's hold on. I guess 2 questions. 1, how did you get into med devices? And then 2, how did you start this thing?
Okay. I'll go first.
Okay.
I originally was going to go to vet school, actually. Long story short, one of the orthopedic surgeons up at the hospital that we're always at, actually, he is really great friends with my parents. So my whole life, he's like, you should become an orthopedic surgeon. Like none of his kids wanted to, whatever. So for a long time, I was like, I'm going to do that. Like in high school, I did clinicals and I was like, yeah, orthopedic surgery. And then I was volunteering in high school at the animal shelter for service hours. And I was like, oh, I really like animals. Like my mom was like, why don't you become an animal doctor? And I was like, bright idea. So anyway, I spent so much time doing that, and I majored in biomedical sciences, and I was working at vets and all this stuff. Vet school didn't work out for me twice.
Mm-hmm.
So I kind of had to have like a hard conversation with myself of like, okay, what am I going to do here? And I really didn't want any more debt either. So my mom worked for an orthopedic surgeon though. And she was like, Haley, why don't you become like a rep? She's like, you'd be really good at it. Like I see them, they come in the office all the time. I talk to them and I'm like, what is that? So she let me get in with a couple of his reps and just kind of shadow them and see what it was about. It was more sports med that I shadowed, but got in there. And then, breaking into this industry is not always so easy. And so I was like, I need...
Yeah, know somebody.
Yes. I was like, I need some other sort of experience. I mean, I had those connections, but still. So we both found medical sales college. Mm-hmm. And that's where we met because she lives here in Abilene and I'm in Dallas. So that's how we met. And then, about 3 months after MSc, I landed a job with ZB and then now here we are. So,
yeah.
Wow.
I always thought I wanted to be a nurse. I was in nursing school. I lived with 2 nurses. One of my roommates at the time, her now husband, he played baseball at McMurray where we went to school. And then when he graduated, he broke into the industry when he went back home to Houston. And that was like my first introduction to the industry. I was like, wait, you're doing what? I'm like, what do you do? And as soon as he told me, I was like, that is my niche. Like, that's my jam. Because, I waited tables all through college. And, even since when I was 15, 16, you can have your first job. I lifeguarded, I babysat, I worked at my church. Like, I've always been really driven and money hungry. But I just, waiting tables, I worked at a high-end steakhouse here. And so I would see the doctors and the reps that I didn't really know exactly what they did, but I just figured it was just the, doctor's offices that would come in. I built these relationships and I made great money, but I also learned how to upsell. So like anybody that tells me waiting tables is not selling, I'm like, that's a lie. You can really learn to make some killer money because you can upsell. And so, I just really realized like there's a sales side of me that I want to explore. And so my husband and we got married my senior year in college. And my first semester and my second semester, we found out we were pregnant. And I was like, oh my gosh, best surprise ever. But it threw us for a loop a little bit. And so after Sloan was born, he was 10 weeks old. And I applied when he was 6 weeks old to the medical sales college. And I have the most supportive family here in Abilene, and everybody, like my dad, my husband, like they'd come up at different times during the week. We'd drive up to Dallas. We stayed in Airbnb. My dad would watch Sloan half the week, all day while I could go to class. And then my husband, he took his weekends for work the other half of the week. And so, we just made it work. It was a grind. And then finished, I came back, shadowed several surgeons here, some of which have now become my surgeons. And then finally got my foot in the door. So it was hard though. I had to stick to it. I did not break in as fast after MSc because I wasn't relocatable. I wanted to stay in Abilene. I think it took me 9 months, 9.5 months to break in, but I shadowed almost every robotics day. I'm sorry.
You're doing robotics now. Is that right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. So
the market here is just so different to break into versus like Dallas for sure.
Well, and the relationships, I started to network with a lot of there's not a ton of reps here, but with all of the reps that are here, and their relationships are deep rooted of 35 years they've owned the business. So then it's also trying to disrupt those relationships and patterns, or if you can't, I guess, beat them, join them. You know what I mean? So I finally got my shot. So it was good. Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
And then in regards to how we started this, we worked together a lot when we were in medical sales college because we had a lot of presentations we had to do, and we just found out that we work really well together. So we just stayed in touch a lot after MSc. And about a year after we graduated from there, we both were like, talking one night, and it was like Sarah was talking about how she wanted to start a podcast, and I was like, I want to start one too. And like, then the next day I think I called her. I'm like, what if we started one together? Yeah. She's like, okay, but what are we going to talk about? And I was like, med device. And she's like, yeah. And then we kind of talked about it more. We're like, no, that's boring. Like people, there's already podcasts like that out there. Like, let's change the game. So really our mission has kind of evolved over time as we've had more conversations with people, and we're like, yeah, that's what we want to do. But at first it was really just to kind of, I mean, there's so many different careers in the healthcare industry that people don't know about, like ours, for example. And it's like, why is there nothing out there like telling people that there's so much more out here you can do and still make a big impact on patients' lives? You don't have to be just a doctor or a nurse. There's so many other specialties. So that's kind of how it started, but we've kind of pipelined into more of a mission of like humanizing medicine to like the background side of it, the side you don't see, like the mental health aspect and other things of that nature that people really go through, and you know, that patients go through too. So
well, I think innately as reps, like I'm sure you guys feel the same way, but I mean, one of my favorite things about being a rep and being in this role is the way I get to love on people and serve in all across the board. Like you said, I want to know everybody from the janitor to the CEO and everybody in between, you know? And so being able to connect with you and know your family and know what makes you happy and to be able to then work alongside them and serve them in patient care. I mean, I think that's what we really wanted to bring to the table here, of just there's realizing that in a way we're all connected to healthcare, whether you're a patient or whether you're a provider. And so being able to maybe bridge the gap of conversation and educate and maybe allow each other to have a little more grace and see different sides of this medical and healthcare industry as a whole it's just become a big mission and heart of ours to do.
Yeah, I feel like it makes the chaos of what we do kind of worth it a little bit, you know, when we can share those experiences with people. So that's awesome.
Thank you. Well, we appreciate you too. Everything that you do in patient care. Did you always think that you'd end up like, or since you've been in spine, like, did you think like, this is where I'm going to stay? Have you ever thought like, I want to venture into different, you know, specialties? Or
you want me to give you my full playbook right now? Huh?
Exactly.
No, I definitely have some plans for some ancillary businesses off of this one. I just, you know, finance, I think I brought that up earlier, but that's always been something that's that's been very appealing to me. And I have a few buddies that are kind of finishing cutting their teeth up in New York that I kind of want to do it with, and they're starting young families, and I think they're going to end up coming to Dallas here at some point. So, this was the one that I knew I could at least figure out how to execute because I've already done it before. But yeah, I'm sure, you know, whenever I'm 32 now, whenever I'm like 40, I'll probably have different aspirations than what I do now, you know? So, like I think like the whole goal of why I started First Round Medical was just because I feel like I can kind of scratch that itch of baseball because of, you know, how competitive it is, how much of an impact we get to make, and just that you're constantly moving, like you're adapting to situations on the fly, a lot like you are in sports. So this was just I think for me personally, this was definitely the best outlet to go explore.
Yeah. I'm curious because Sarah brought this up and it's such a big thing in the spine world. How do you approach like trying to get someone's business that's had like a deep rooted relationship with whoever they're working with beforehand?
Yeah, I think, we have to do it, right? Like you just, if you're not growing in spine, you're dying. Because other people are trying to do the same thing to your business that you have. My kind of strategy on that is to just kind of like chip away. And I'm not trying to go in there and hit home runs. I'm trying to go in there and, you know, just get on base, just find a way to further the conversation the next time. And just kind of show what value I can provide with what we have in the relationship right now. And just continue to chip away. There's not really any secret recipe to do that. You just got to keep winning the relationship every day. And, you know, I'm a big believer in making touches, you know, constantly, you know, if it's a guy that's more money, but he's worked with Jimmy for 20 years, you know, how do you do that? Well, you know, every week I'm going to go by. I know I'm not going to have his business right now or any of it maybe, but I'm going to go say what's up, you know, just say what's up to the office, make them love him some Ty, you know? And I think you slowly chip away at it, and, you know, who knows what happens, but, you know, I'm sure there's going to be plenty of docs here that never work with me, you know, my entire career. But they'll definitely know me, and they'll know that, you know, I'm a good dude, and we got a good team of people, and, you know, and just, we could be friendly, because you just never know what happens. So I think everybody's a target, no matter how entrenched they are in whatever relationship. So that's kind of my strategy anyway.
Yeah.
I love that. That's awesome. It's true, because you might have to save the day one day and everything could change from that day. It really just depends. So.
Yeah, absolutely. How has your version of success evolved? And your idea of success evolved throughout your career? I
think that early answer is like, by how much money we make, right? It's just, no, that's definitely not it at all. I think, you know, one of the things that I anticipated happening at some point down the line was getting a deal with a big manufacturer. I didn't anticipate that happening in year one, and it did. So I think, like, personally, that was a big win for me, you know, with the Pew. But, you know, as far as like success on a day-to-day is like, how well is the team growing? How well are people understanding cases? How are we doing? And, you know, feeling confident to roll solo. You know, I think that's kind of more what tells me how successful I am being as like a coach or a mentor. You know, how are we progressing on this relationship? Are we making touches here? Are we sitting down chatting? It doesn't matter if you're talking about one of your products or just talking about the game last week. I don't care. You know, like a conversation is a conversation. You're advancing the relationship by, you know, just constantly making yourself known. So I think, I don't know. I feel if you can achieve that, the wins on the scorecard will absolutely follow. Don't know when it will follow, but they'll follow for sure.
Yeah, I agree. I love that.
You said something and it just made me think, how do you, specifically with people on your team, but also with like surgeons too, how do you really get how do you relate to them? What is your approach in relating to people and being relationable, if that's a word, or relational, sorry. But I think some people really are not good at that. So I'm curious what your advice is or how you do that.
Yeah, almost like being a chameleon a little bit, you know, blending into the environment you have, but finding a way to stick out at the same time. But, you know, you'd probably think, probably not now, being that you've been doing this for a long time, but most people probably think like, well, oh, you know, your first round pick out of high school, played baseball at the Yankees, like, oh, you got a huge leg up on everybody. And I don't think I've ever told anybody that until, like, you know, Derek, my partner, tells them, and they're like, "Oh, really?" Or whatever. I never use that, but I've seen it several times where it's happened, and they're like, "Oh, okay," you know, like it's not even that cool, right? They're like, "Damn, I thought that was pretty cool," but no, it doesn't matter. Like it doesn't matter who you are, you know, what you've done, you know, how popular you are, whatever. None of that matters in this. I mean, I don't know. I digress.
Yeah. I will say that was one of those things that was a little intimidating. Everybody knows this to be kind of the bros world. Like everybody knows the ortho bros, you know, and the surgeons. And even like as a female stepping into this space in the beginning, I was like, damn, like, it's not like, I'm not watching every baseball or every football game, or I'm not going golfing I'll go caddy for you, sure, and drink some drinks, but like, but I'm just like, I felt like, am I going to have a really hard time doing that? And that was something I would kind of get in my head about in the beginning, but I'm just like, you know what?
But I bet you've not had a hard time at all.
No, I haven't. But I think like my heart to just go in there and lead with like, I want to learn about you. I'm here to provide value to you. And so just kind of really opening the floor and getting to learn them and kind of their quirks or their tics and what would be valuable to them and what they like. And then just being to, like you said, a chameleon, like being able to relate to them on their level and what they like. Like I recently trained a surgeon who, she is super into Pokemon, a trauma surgeon.
Oh, really?
And I'm like,
that's awesome.
That's not my cup of tea. You know what I mean? But like, we are going to be Pokemon, but she had like a Fendi, like custom Pokemon bag that she made. I'm like, I can relate to handbags. Like we can, we'll go. But yeah, I think like it's been really cool to see how just on all sides of the fence, people can build relationships and kind of their approach and then pulling from other people's strategies and approach as well.
Yeah. And just once again, like so when I meet somebody for the first time, if it's in office or whatever, the first thing that I do, and I hopefully nobody really notices it, but I just look around the office and I find something and I'm like, okay, or you're doing research on somebody, maybe you know somebody that they trained with or something like that, right? But without fail, every single time I will find one thing that like we can like bro out on, like relate on every single time. Because if you don't, like, how are you different from anybody else? Now, like you're like the fifth person that came in here today. Like, what do you want?
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Exactly. You're just another rep walking in the door.
Yeah, just finding some way to relate for sure.
Yeah. Now, like leading your distributorship, how do you approach coaching your guys and getting them comfortable in the OR, learning becoming experts on the technology and the surgical space as a whole?
Yeah. I just try and think back to the best way that I learned. And kind of like Haley already said, like you really learn the best from just doing it. So like I've rented out like lab space to bring all of our stuff, and like I'm the surgeon and running the C-arm at the same time, try and teach everybody. So I've done stuff like that, but I don't think there's really any replication from just being in there and just do what I do. Just watch me and watch how I handle, things when it's going great, things when it's not going great. Like how do we problem solve and, find a way to find a solution pretty relatively quickly. So there's no, I don't know, specific thing to do there. I think it's just, you got to analyze analyze the best way in which everybody in your team kind of learns, and then just kind of go off of that.
Yeah, I appreciate that.
That's awesome. Okay, we're going to transition into, we like to do like some rapid fire questions. It's kind of fun with people before we close out with like a final. But what is harder, standing in a batter's box with the game on the line? Well, I guess you were a pitcher, so just on the standing on home base.
I never did that.
Or the mound, not home base. Jeez Louise. That tells you how much I know about baseball. Okay. Okay,
maybe just do that question all over again.
Hold on. Okay. What's harder, standing on the mound with the game on the line or helping support a complex spine surgery?
Well, if you would have asked me that question 5 years ago, I would have said, oh, no question in the OR. But, now that you kind of get comfortable and you know what you're doing, I don't know. I guess it would depend on the situation in both of them. I think they're both pretty tough to do. But I mean, I played baseball since I was like 3 years old, so it kind of becomes second nature at one point. And there's once you get going, there's no situation that becomes, oh, this is so much more stressful. No, it's just another pitch. Just keep going. You're not thinking about it. So, I mean, I probably would still say in the OR for sure, just because there's so much more on the line than just like my feelings and the fans' feelings at the end of the day, right? Or like my contract with the team. right? So there's hesitation on the table. So I think, that human life's probably a little bit more important than a kid's game.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
Okay. So rapid fire questions. So what is your favorite MLB memory?
I love that question.
So much for rapid fire here. I would just say cumulatively the amount of people or the people that I met over the years.
Mm-hmm.
I think I have a bunch of buddies that, my kids can call uncle, all around the country. And I've gotten to stay at some really cool places, eat some really good food, and just be a part of a lot of like high pressure environments. And I really enjoy that. So, yeah.
That's awesome. Which you still get to do in your career, quite frankly. Now,
That's true.
So there
Yeah.
you go.
There's just not people booing me in there anymore.
Yeah.
That's true. What's the best piece of advice you've ever received?
Actually, from my brother, my younger brother. He, it was within the first little bit of being here, and I was just like, man, this thing's kind of hard. And he told me, don't forget who you are. And I was like, okay. Yeah, I like that. So that, like, the best piece of advice, like, don't forget who you are. Don't forget what you're capable of. Just go for it.
Yeah.
Keep shooting. Go. So
that.
that's for what we do. That is the best advice. No question.
That's awesome.
He's
Shoot or
younger,
shoot.
but maybe wiser. No, I'm just joking. No. Okay. What is the most underrated leadership trait?
Leading by example, 100%. I think a lot of people will tell you what to do and not execute those actions themselves. So I'd say just being able to do what you say you're going to do.
I appreciate that.
What is one thing everyone should know about spine health? I like that question.
The greatest risk to a failed spine surgery is obesity.
Is what? I'm so sorry.
Obesity. Absolutely. Yep.
Really.
I figured it was like smoking or diabetes. No, it's actually obesity.
What is the most important lesson you have learned in healthcare and in the OR thus far?
I would say to treat every single case like that was your family member on the table, because I know, especially when you have like 3 or 4 a day, these are long spine cases, right? Spine's not ortho. Ortho, you have shorter cases, a lot more of them, but each spine surgery is different from the other one. And I would just say to treat every single one the same way and with the same respect you would as if it was your family member on the table.
I love that. Absolutely.
Yeah. Okay.
What's your favorite way to spend a day off? I think I might know your answer to this, but
yeah, right. Anything with my boys. My wife is an absolute warrior. She is, she's stay-at-home mom, which like I could not do that at all. I don't know how she does it, but she's a warrior with the kiddos. But just anything fun. Hudson likes to go to the park, go for scooter rides, play baseball. Just anything I can do with my boys, like that's what I'm gonna do for sure.
That's so sweet.
That's awesome. That's the same. I love that. Okay. So you've spent time in 2 worlds where performance matters at the highest level, both professional sports and in healthcare. What have those experiences taught you about what really matters in life?
That none of this really matters. Like I think at the end of the day, like if you're supporting your family, like you're going to find a way to make it work no matter what you do. I think just not to make everything a bigger deal than what it is, and just realize the only thing that really matters is the people you got in your house that love you no matter what. So I just say, don't make it a bigger deal than what it is. Yeah. Probably.
Yeah.
Actually, I really like that. Nobody's ever answered like that question like that.
Well, I got to remind myself of that all the time. So.
Yeah.
We all do.
Yes,
though. It's so easy to get wrapped up into what's going on in real life that you got to come back to home base, as you would say, and remind yourself like, hey.
Nice joke. There you go.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Well,
I'm
Ty,
corny, I know.
thank you so much for coming on today.
Yes,
thank you for
thank you.
sharing
Yeah.
a little bit about you and your distributorship and your heart to serve people. And thank you for what you do for patients. So we appreciate you.
Yeah. Thanks for having me on. I really had a great time, and looks like you guys are going to keep doing a great job with this show. It's awesome. Happy for you guys.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
We appreciate it. We'll see you later.
All right.
Bye.